She was such a presence for so long, even in her quieter period of life. Every time I drive by there, I a little tug. So I think it would be appropriate for us just to pause for just a minute and remember her grace and energy and all that she did for the town through both the garden club and open space. I'll be mentioning her a little bit on an agenda item later, but yeah, let's have a moment, if you would.
And for Sean's benefit, this is a longtime member, founding member, I believe, of the Open Space Commission, who just passed away at 95 recently.
I'll take notes if you wish.
That'd be great.
Okay,
Thank you, Martin.
you're welcome.
Okay, I think we can proceed.
I just wanted to add that I saw Marjorie a week before she passed away, or about that. And we were talking about who the candidates were for office in the community. And she was still as sharp as could be. And she called me 2 days later and said, now, what did we say about that one? So, I mean, she was so engaged as a person, even to the very end of her life. And I guess she's a model or an inspiration for all of us that, you know, you're not done till you're done. And so,
And she was, even, you know, maybe not in the recent past, but, you know, for an awful long time, you could see her picking up trash on Main Road and various places. And she was always a person, in my view, that made you feel that you mattered to her, and that she was not someone who would pass judgment. Let's put it that way. Just a really positive force, that's for sure.
yeah, positive.
However, her daughter assured me that she managed to vote before.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, since we, you know, I know she wanted to, and
Yep.
Someone joked that she died because she didn't want to wait for the results in case they didn't turn out well. But the other thing I think I have to credit her with is that I would not be on the Open Space Commission if it weren't for Marge Larson, because I went on a hike with Mr. Plunkett because Marge said, oh, you should come to this. And not long after that, Gary called me and said, how about? And so the circle, you know, is there anyway. But thank you for taking time to honor her. I miss her like you. Every time I drive by her house, there's a sinking feeling like, how can she be gone?
Yeah, I think she's not gone. I think she'll be with us for a long time.
Absolutely.
So, Sean, why don't you give us a little insight into what you're interested in and been doing, and
Sure.
what brings you here?
So I just recently retired from the Tiverton Police Department.
Congratulations.
Thanks. 20 years there. I did almost 4 years in Southern California with the Border Patrol. So I worked in the desert for a while. But I grew up in Portsmouth, so I've always been in this area anyways.
Yeah.
And I've lived in Tiverton now probably, well, for the full 20 years for sure. My parents moved to Tiverton from Portsmouth when I was 17. So, and then I went to college and whatnot. So in Boston. But yeah, so when I retired, I thought to myself, hey, I'd really like to stay involved with the town. I love Tiverton. I love being in Tiverton. I live in Tiverton still with my wife, who I married a Helger. So I thought I could probably never be allowed to leave Tiverton. So there was that.
Unlikely.
But yeah, so we live behind Helger's Ice Cream right now. The house that's behind Helger's Ice Cream, we built that about 2 years ago. And so that's what felt like I needed to kind of give back a little bit, do maybe some volunteer service, and just stay involved more or less, you know. And I love the outdoors. My wife and I hike, we paddleboard, I mountain bike. I love being outside, so it kind of seemed appropriate.
I
Welcome.
noticed, I think you joined the Conservation Commission as well, right?
I did, yeah. I don't know if I did threw too much on my plate or not. I just figured I kind of threw my name in the hat a bunch of times and just seeing what it kind of turned out. So yeah, they allowed me to be on both boards, which is kind of interesting. I did have that meeting probably about a month ago now. It's very different, I think, than what you guys do. But I'm not sure 100%. I'll have to see how it goes. But maybe it'll be interesting to see the correlation, and maybe being on one helps being on the other. I'm not sure.
Absolutely. Well, you're now the official liaison.
Yeah, right.
Indeed.
Unofficial liaison. Sounds good. Yeah. So here I am.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks for
Indeed.
having me.
Actually, while we're speaking of new members, Susan Rodriguez, who was a member when I first joined, is now in a position where she's working from home most of the time, which is her home in Tiverton, instead of her apartment in Boston, and is interested in rejoining. And she's been trying to complete the paperwork and get that in. I don't think it's actually gone through yet, but I expect, I did send her this invite. She's spending a month or so in California with her kids. So I said, if you could tear yourself away from the sunshine, you're welcome to join us, but I'm not sure she will tonight. But we can expect her to be coming along as well.
Good addition.
Okay, we're up to finances.
So Gary, do you want to do the talking, or do you want me
Well, I
to
can,
go through the entire?
I can yak through it. Everybody's, I hope, had a chance to look at it. There's a lot of stuff there, but in summary, which I tried to summarize when I sent that to you a few days ago. We got clipped like everybody did on our budget, and we also didn't find out what the budget was going to be for a long time. So I mean, I should have probably been a little bit more careful, but it wouldn't have changed a lot. I might have watched it a little bit more carefully, some of the mowings and so on. But anyway, our big, huge expense, as I mentioned in the email, has been the trail guides. It's been an unbelievable. It seems like every 2 weeks, John Paul is calling me saying he needs more trail guides.
Yeah.
So, in one respect, we've been hit with a reduced budget right at the time when we're spending like crazy to keep trail guides. But I think it's money well spent. I mean, it's a great, it's just fantastic that Tiverton has that outlet for people to use, and they are really using it. I think all of you have seen the crowds that have been at the parking areas. So anyway, that's the big expense. I don't see any.
Gary, is there any benefit to going for a bigger printing? Do we get a?
Yeah, we can do that. I keep thinking it's going to tail off, so I'm thinking, 1,500. Oh, that'll be fine now. It's going to tail off, but it hasn't. We can save a little bit.
With printing, my experience is that, 15, if you do 3,000 from 1,500, it's often, maybe 25% more than 1,500. So
There's a break.
the numbers really make it.
Yeah. So we'll certainly.
As long as you're not throwing them out.
Let's see, the two expenses pending that I mentioned. We did that overseeding with that new. It turned out to not be a drill seeder. It's actually a slice seeder, but it's an efficient way to overseed down in the Weedamoo Meadow, and so that bill is pending. And then Sarah Bradford's bill, we she wanted us to go ahead and pay that up to date. So that's the other one. And I took that one from Castle Land Stewardship Fund. That was $2,500. And we've got the balance before that expenditure was 94,1388, and any day now we should be getting this year's grant from the foundation, and I expect that to be at least $3,500. So we've got plenty of funds to support our operations. What happened on the mowing expenses? One is I had instructed John Paul to do the mowing in the spring every week. Okay, remember we agreed to mow the area around the tower at Fort Barton a lot more frequently. You know, we've been in the past sort of mowing a few times a year, 2 or 3 times a year. But it gets, so we decided to mow the area right around the readout more regularly to keep it more like a little park setting when people go up there. And so they were, Josh's crew was doing that one and the Highland Woods at the same time. He'd mow them and then go on up and mow us. And the idea was mow it as needed, which in the springtime when it's really growing is every week, but then it tails off, as you know. And somehow the word didn't get to the mower, so he was mowing every week a little too long. So there were some extra expenses there that we shouldn't have incurred.
Well, and it was so dry. I mean,
Yeah.
at some point there was, I mean, you know,
wasn't much
down
to cut.
to bare
Yeah,
ground
just
almost.
blowing dust.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So,
anyway, I finally went straight to the guy that was mowing and said, "Hey, Colin, knock it off." So the other thing is, I was kind of just, we're in this partnership with the Land Trust on Highland Woods, and Josh was sending me one bill for both of them, and I was sending them every other one, and so that was the way I was kind of splitting it. But the mowing for theirs is really more than what ours is. So I've decided, I asked Josh now to bill them separately. And next year I'll watch that more carefully to make sure that when the grass stops growing, they stop mowing, or at least mow less regularly. So anyway, that's just background. Any other questions on?
I had a question. The trail guides are a good point about it buying more, but part of it is that it's the use is greatly up because of the virus, and people are seeking
Sure.
a place to go and
Absolutely.
maintain their sanity. Do you think people are taking away a trail guide and then going and getting another one the next week? And then, I mean, do you have any sense of what the usage is? Are people really holding on to them, or they're
No,
just getting tossed? No
don't
sense.
Don't sit there and watch them, but
But I didn't know if anyone had any sense of what was
I
happening.
suspect that happens.
Yeah. I mean, we all do it, right? And is there
I suspect there's a lot of new visitors too, though.
Yes, no, definitely.
People seeking outlets. So that,
Yeah, the
I mean, there's
outdoors.
times I've gone by there and the cars are parked down the other way on 8 Rod Way.
Yeah, definitely. It's wonderful to see the, attention and the excitement for being in the outdoors. But I just was wondering about any sense of that. And is there a website link to that information that we have posted anywhere?
There is a website link, and a lot of people, really a lot of the younger crowd do use that.
It's on the sign, isn't it, Gary?
No.
Well, that was where I was going next. Is
sign,
it posted?
Yeah, the sign never got made, and I was going to do that, and never got around to it. So that has the link on it, and so I'll get busy and get that done. So that might help.
No pressure. It was. I was just trying to think of the younger crowd using their phones, or being.
Well, I think the younger crowd using their phones, most of them know how to get there anyway. And
Yeah, yeah,
Ha-
that's true.
but anyway, it doesn't hurt to post it and make it clear.
Have you guys ever seen the little barcodes, the square barcodes?
The
that
QR
people-
codes.
They're doing it for menus a lot right now for
Yeah.
the coronavirus in restaurants. You just put your phone up to it, and the picture part of your phone scans it and automatically redirects you to a
Right.
website. You could post that simple barcode up there, and that would bring them right to the trail map right away, like immediately. I don't know if that's something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's easy.
We could put that on the same, I guess we could get that on the same sign as well as the
Yeah.
link.
People see it and they immediately recognize what it is. So
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
it's a QRP code.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that something you could look into, Sean, as your first
Oh,
assignment?
definitely. Yeah.
Uh,
My wife actually does it for her business right now.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah, the QR code, it brings her right to the website for classes that she teaches. So it's pretty simple, to be honest, but I'll talk to her about it because she probably knows more than me. But yeah, I can look into that. That's no problem at all.
Oh, that'd be great.
Perfect. Yeah, then that helps ease the demand for the physical copy,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Be less copies of paper floating around.
But the booklet's beautiful, and so it's something to be proud of and to take home, and it
That's-
reminds
that's true,
you
too.
of the Open Space Commission, and so, there are pluses on that side too.
Well, the
Yeah.
booklets aren't out there. The booklets are in the library and so on, but they're not at the trailhead. The only thing
Okay, there aren't any booklets at trailheads. Okay, just the
Right.
maps.
Oh, that would
I
be
know what
huge
you mean.
difference,
Yeah,
Yeah, these are just the maps, right?
but the maps
Mm.
on pursuing the virtual maps is a good idea.
Absolutely.
Just a reminder that I have a box of those booklets that I got when we got them. So if you need booklets, I've still got a whole box of them.
I've got a pallet load of them.
Okay.
Well, nobody's using them now. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
so they're sitting down
It's so
there.
true. It's so true. Okay, good.
Meeting schedule, we want to
Yep.
talk about that one? I kind of like the schedule we had this year.
Yeah.
John, we haven't met since February.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, you want to bump it right up and do quarterly?
Well, actually, Ryan and I was thinking about anyway, the idea of doing it bi-monthly rather than every month. And I'm just wondering what you think about that. It's a little bit of work to do all the agendas and the minutes and everything, and it's
Well,
not
Did
a
you
lot
get
of
to
fun.
see if we can do that, Gary, or if there's any?
I didn't see anything in in our charter or
Yeah.
any place else that said we had to meet every month. I don't know. I don't know any place else to go. Those are the places I checked, and there wasn't any requirement that I found
Yep.
to do that.
Well, you could do the Navy way, right? We change to bi-monthly until someone tells us we're supposed to meet monthly.
Yeah, well, the old, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm if
and if you need to schedule another one, you can always have an unscheduled meeting as long
Exactly.
as
yeah.
Yeah, special meetings, I think, make sense as needs arise, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I was looking at the, do we start in February, January? February means that we see February, April, June, August, October, and December. It would mean that we could still have our annual Christmas party. Which, by the way,
It's cake.
Jenny is still in mourning over not being able to fix her 10,000 cookies and stuff for our get together, but she'll get over it.
Yeah.
We can have
Anyway.
it. I'm hoping that maybe by the 4th of July, I will be able to have family over here. So we
Yeah.
have Christmas in July.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what do you think about that? February would be the first meeting after this one? and then every other month we can turn that schedule in.
Yep.
Everybody on board
So-
with that?
So we, but then would meet in August?
We meet, well, starting February, yeah, August, February, April, June, August, October, and December.
Yeah.
And
Because we have canceled the August meeting other years, but
Yeah.
I think if you're meeting every other month, then it hits in August, it does, you know.
and we can
You
still
also
cancel it if
cancel
there's
a meeting.
nothing going on.
I'm sorry?
You can also cancel a meeting as well as scheduling the one in between.
So if everybody's on board with that, Martin, you want to look into,
I'll look into where those things fall, because I think that probably in February, we may have a holiday
Yeah.
conflict with the Monday, and we'd have to meet this.
we have a holiday in January too. We had
Yeah.
Yeah,
both.
I
of them.
looked at my calendar. The February would be the 16th. April would be the 19th. June would be the 21st. August, I didn't check.
all right, so that's fine.
October would be the 18th and December would be the 20th.
Now the February one, we'd have to move to Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it is. I did move it to Tuesday, I think.
That's,
Yeah, because that's President's, yeah, the 15th is President's Day, so I just automatically gave you
all
the
right, so,
16th.
yeah, so I'll send that to the town and to the Secretary of State.
Okay, Martin, August is the 16th.
16th, okay.
Uh,
That a
Gail, are we-
holiday too?
Gail, are we clear for those dates?
The only conflict is the one we mentioned, which is the February President's Day is usually on a Monday. I would have to, well, presumably we'll be back at the library eventually.
Yeah.
And it would be a matter of submitting
Well,
the dates.
Yeah, and then this year, we probably won't be at the library.
I agree.
So we'll have a, it'll-
Not before, probably not before late
for
summer.
August or something.
Yeah,
Maybe August, yep. I think that's probably our first chance, really. They're not
Okay.
relinquishing their meeting room schedule at all because.
So I'll just send I will send just a question message through the Secretary of State's office explaining that our meetings are usually at a certain place, but they're not going to be until it's cleared, and that they'll be virtual. I mean, it does mention that in the minutes, but
Yeah.
you have to
Martin,
give them a place to get it posted.
well, you could put the place on there and then we
Right. Yeah.
change it to
And then,
Zoom if we have to.
right. The place will be on there anyhow. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I do for the Open Space Commission is, the place is town hall, but the meeting is conducted by Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
put
right.
it, yeah, put it at the Tiverton Public Library, but meetings conducted via Zoom. That makes sense. Yep.
All right.
Good point.
Martin,
Yes.
another thing to ask about. Last year, the town hall told us explicitly that we should not turn our calendars in until after January the 1st because,
Right. Okay.
but this year they told us to go ahead and do it. The town hall told us to go ahead and do it before December 31st. I
All right. So,
emailed the gal and said, which is it? And she never answered.
all right. So I'll follow up on that before I send it.
Check on that, right.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to be at town hall tomorrow for something.
Okay.
We paid off our house. And
Hey, good.
yeah, how about that for a big surprise? And I'm
Right.
going to be there to file the documents. So I could ask
Sure.
about open space and when you have to have the calendar by.
All right.
It goes,
Just say that the Secretary of the State told us last year we should not do it until after January the 1st. But then we got
Okay.
another message from them saying we should do it before January 1st.
okay. Well, and we now have a new town clerk, so that may be part of it, right?
Well, it came from Jeannie.
Oh, Jeannie, okay.
So
Jeannie, okay. All right, I'll ask tomorrow. Martin, I'll let you know I'll let
Okay,
everyone know.
And I'll just query the Secretary of State's office, because there's a place that you can ask questions and they'll get back to you. And I'll just
Okay.
ask them when we have to get it in.
Okay, very good. Sounds like between the two of us, we'll come up with an answer.
Well, you ask them and I'll ask the state.
Yes, we'll go with the state, but okay.
all right, good. It gets
We're
us
on to the master plan.
Yeah, I think, I don't know how many of you read all that. I mean, it wasn't that long, but Brian, when I sent the first thing out several weeks ago, Brian suggested that we needed something up front that provided context, because this thing may sit around for a long time now. We don't know what our budget's going to be. I have a feeling that we'll still be able to do it before too long. From some, maybe we were going to do it from our non-budgeted funds anyway. So, but anyway, so we added that paragraph up front to sort of provide that context, and then there were several substantive changes that we asked for, and then the rest of it was just kind of editing my English major curse, going through and tweaking things and so on. But I chatted with Sarah, and she was totally on board with all of that. And so I asked her. I said, okay. I was prepared to ask her for a billing, but she sent that a few days before that. So I just asked her, you want to wait? Do you want to wait and finish this and bill us for the whole thing? So she's not. Why don't you go ahead? I've already sent that to you. Go ahead and pay that. And I can understand that. So anyway, that's why we submitted that, and there'll probably some more money to finish that off, make the changes, and her proposal. You probably noticed that I actually added her proposal to the document again for context, because it had a lot of good stuff in it. I mean, some of those old maps and stuff. So, and it also, if something happens and we got to wait a couple of years here, it gives us a good thorough background of what our proposal was and what the document is. So anyway, she's gonna do that, and then we'll have another bill to pay to get that done. What do you think? Maybe ask for, would 5 copies be enough to
You only need electronic, really.
yeah. Well, you mean not even get hard copies?
I certainly don't need one.
Okay.
Well,
Don't we need to file one?
File one where? In our own archives?
Yeah, in our own archives. Madam Secretary.
right.
Madam Archivist, I should say.
Yeah, Madam Archivist. Well, I have this burgeoning file at my house, and I can add one more document to it. But I know that one of our tasks is related to the fact that there is file cabinet available in town hall, and we're supposed to be utilizing it, but now we're not doing any of that. So I suppose it would be one more thing to collect us there. But I found the maps hard to view just electronically, but maybe that's just me and what was available to me. Maybe on a larger monitor it would have been easier, but
Maybe 3 copies to start.
Yeah.
I think that's enough then.
so
Okay.
I'm going to ask for an explanation, I guess, in a few places. So the paragraph that the substantive changes document is the wordsmithing that you did, Gary, based on the document that we got from Bradford Associates.
Right. Correct.
And you're proposing to put forth your version, the substantive changes, as the master plan for Fort Barton, or for the Sin and Flesh.
Baseline. Not the master plan, the baseline.
This is the
What?
existing conditions.
Baseline. Okay.
Sean, can I just interrupt for a sec? Sean, do you have any idea what we're talking about?
I do, yeah. I
Okay.
actually read them today, so
Okay.
Good.
I do.
But
We're in trouble. He prepares for these meetings.
I've read the things too, and I read the earlier comments you had made, Gary, and then I was trying to integrate. I'm trying to understand, where we're going. You're distinguishing Sarah's document from the wording you put forth, and her document is going to be an addendum to our document. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
There's only going to be one document.
Okay.
She's incorporating.
She asked for our comments.
Yes.
And my document is our comments.
Okay.
She was very, I told her kind of what it was. She said, that's exactly what I wanted. I want your input.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
it's accurate. And also reflects what's there. That's what this is. It's the existing conditions. And I had some corrections to make. Sean and I, Jean Paul and I, walked around and did that, and some of the ideas and so on. There was nothing really major that I added.
Okay.
So
okay. Well, okay, that helps me get a better sense of kind of where this is. And so the 6 points that begin the document, one of which is the opening paragraph that Brian suggested we have this historical context, right?
Correct.
Right? So I would just note that on the first sentence, it's not 1919.
Yeah.
I did see that too.
It would be nice if we'd been around since 1919, but it's not true.
Just got past the flu epidemic.
Right, exactly. We survived the last flu.
Got it.
So that's a typo, but I saw it and I thought I would say that. And then do we have, Gary, am I supposed to have a copy of a proposal that we had in November or is it just the minutes of the meeting proposal that we would conduct this survey?
Well, the proposal is what she sent us. And
okay, her proposal.
Yeah, we reviewed that a long time ago and accepted.
Yes. Okay.
And so we're just adding that for historical. So it'll be one document.
Yes, in the end,
one,
right.
One
Ultimately.
plate to go to that gives you the background. And it also, her original proposal, it makes it all one. So if it's a year or two before this is picked up again, you have the whole history of it.
That's right. I think that helps. And then when did we rename it the Sin and Flesh Brook Natural Area?
A couple years ago.
Okay.
It was actually it came off of when Highland Woods was added, and we went around with pulling our hair out, Highland Woods, Fort Barton Woods,
okay,
and so on.
I guess I had missed that, and I was feeling like, oh dear, I'm really out of the loop. Point 4, you reference the Highland Woods trailhead, and then you reference the trailhead for Sin and Flesh Brook. And I think it should be the trailhead for Highland Woods and the trailhead for Sin and Flesh, or we should put trailhead at the end of both. Do you know what I'm saying? Just for consistency.
All right.
Take a look.
I don't have the
Number
document in
4.
front of me.
You'll see. Gary, I'll email you.
Okay, but there's 2 different trailheads.
Yes, but in one case you call it a Highland Woods trailhead, and then when you refer to the Sin and Flesh Brook one, you say trailhead 4. And I just didn't know whether you wanted to call both of them the trailhead for Highland Woods and the trailhead for Sin and Flesh Brook, or you wanted to put trailhead at the end of both. I'll email you what the point is.
Okay.
Because you're looking like you're not following me.
No.
All right. And I couldn't figure out where the desire line was that you wanted to remove or delete. So it's just going to go away, whatever that is.
It's on the map. It's on that figure.
That was
right it's right down the middle.
Yeah, I couldn't see it exactly, and I thought it's got to be here, but okay.
No, you can't see it when you're up there either.
Okay, well, good enough.
So I'm not sure how that got on there or what it's about.
Okay, very good.
It's mowed a little bit more, so it may look like you know.
Okay, and then I'm gonna just send you, I'll just send you, I had a couple of little things that are in the wording of the survey. And if you don't mind, I'll just send those along to you and you can take a look and see
Sure.
if you think you want to change that at all.
Okay, great.
I think you did a great job of, improving upon the language of the original wording and
Good, thank you.
every part of it. I mean, I read it and I thought, yeah, I like the way that reads. And I read the other one beside it. And so I really think that the clarity is improved.
Oh, thank you, good.
Yeah, no,
Okay, we
great
can
job.
talk about your other things.
Sorry?
And the next stage of the process, right, was really the public feedback meetings,
Yeah, I think that's what we were thinking of.
which is why we're really on hold.
Hmm.
Okay. Hey, Fogland Beach. Right?
Yep, that's where we are.
There's been several meetings. There was a big on-site with the engineering firm that was awarded the contract to back up the state, or maybe it was Save the Bay, actually had funds allocated, $18,000 towards engineering to try and control some of the stormwater drainage, which is most apparent sort of down by the guard shack, if you will, where it runs down Fogland Road and pools down in there. And they're also trying to ensure that it more naturally filters into the marsh. So anyway, there was a meeting with the engineering company, walked through a lot of the things down there. Chris Cotto was there, as well as representatives from Save the Bay and CRMC. So that was helpful, and they've launched their work. At the same time, while Wenley Ferguson was there from Save the Bay, well, she was there, and Rick from DPW. We discussed the whole, the sand in the road and the dune improvements. Everybody was sensitive about not doing a lot until there's a master plan. This first stage is stormwater runoff, but the hope is that that's going to evolve into a master plan for the area. A similar process to Fort Barton, where there'll be public meetings and feedback, and everybody can agree going forward. So we didn't want to do a lot, but Wenley encouraged us to not lose the winter as the sand was blowing off the beach, and to try and do a little dune maintenance and dune creation over the course of the winter. So in a number of spots, there was already some significant dune growth down there, and a number of gaps between them. It's really interesting. You can look at the road and the sand on the road. Every time there's a gap, that's where the sand's piling up. And where there's a dune on the beach, the sand doesn't blow into the road. And so the goal was to create in all those areas an overlapping entrance so that it wasn't a straight shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to kind of zigzag in to get onto the beach. And so following the meeting, Rick was able to locate snow fencing and went ahead and installed it, which is great. And it's really doing its job. I was down there this week. And then they are now, every time they clear the road of sand, they're dumping it on the water side
Mm-hmm.
of that snow fence. And so the dunes are already starting to establish and grow. Some of the snow fence is a little beat up already, but
Doesn't matter. It works.
yeah. Unfortunately, on the cove side, at that narrowest point where the gap is, which is, I think, the most vulnerable, he actually moved large pieces of concrete that had been up by the guard shack to create a similar thing there, because the ground was like concrete, so you couldn't really put fence in there. And stupidly, when I took some pictures of what had happened, what he had done, and just replied all to the email, I didn't realize somebody from CRMC was on it. Who immediately pointed out that that was not part of the permissions, and concrete was a, I don't know.
Natural.
Yeah. She actually suggested, we could do the Christmas tree thing that we were thinking about, but our goal was not to close that opening, but to just try and stop the wind from screaming through there.
Yeah.
So those are gone now, unfortunately. But that's where it stands if anybody's asking about it. And so hopefully there'll be some remediation coming with some swales and such for the freshwater runoff in there. And also it was too late in the season to plant dune grass, but Wenley hopes to do that early this spring and
You're gonna have a little sand to plant them in, so
yeah,
probably good to do it in the spring.
and again, hopefully we're going to plod along and develop a master plan that's agreeable with everybody involved, recreation and whatnot. Oh, that's the other thing. The blocks blocking off the cul-de-sac road haven't moved. They were put in initially because of the COVID situation. And it's incredible, if you haven't been down there, how much that road is filled in already.
Well, if DPW had not been, emptying the road of sand over the years, it would have filled in 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of not a natural circumstance.
Well, and Chris Romlin's on recreation, and he was there at the meetings as well. And he was recalling after one of the hurricanes how none of those dunes on the cove side of the road were there. They were just gone. And they're very significant now. They've really built up. So it seems like we have a good working relationship with recreation as well down there now. And the idea would be that cul-de-sac road would be a foot traffic road now and not reopened to vehicles without officially declaring it as such.
Brian, the vegetation's also coming back on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is great. Nature's doing its thing.
Oh, I know I took one little picture of, I'm not even sure what the plants were, but some little sprouts at the base of a picnic table that had created their own little mini dune. It was incredible. Just as soon as there's a plant there, the grand and Wenley was telling us that the sand there is incredibly fine, and that's why it's subject to such movement when the wind comes in.
Which makes it a great beach sand.
Yep. Easy on the feet. Brian, what is the name of the Recreation Commission member that you named? I didn't hear his.
Chris Romelin, ROM. I'm not sure if it's ELIN.
Okay, thank you. I don't know him, and I just was curious.
So hopefully we'll get into more long-range planning come spring and summer down there. Try and
Right.
move that forward and get something that everybody can agree to, including CRC. I think ultimately one of the answers is going to be some what I'm just calling up and overs, staircase kind of things on the cove side.
Yeah, like they did at Second Beach in Middletown, where you lift them every year.
Yep.
It worked there.
Well,
And
and
I-
they put the fences at Horseneck Beach too, and
Oh, yeah.
I think that's pretty helpful, so.
I mean, I know it's been a long time, but after the 54 Hurricane Carol, there was no dune between the road and the water at Second Beach in Newport, or Middletown. And then they started doing the snow fence thing, Christmas trees with the Boy Scouts and all that. And then eventually a big grant to put in all those snow fences to keep traffic out. And then eventually the movable walkways. And I don't know how tall those dunes are now, but probably 20 or 25 feet. I mean, they're really tall. Now they have a lot more room there between the water and the dunes than we do, but it can't do anything but help to have the dunes on the beach.
And it's going to be similar to what happened at Grinnell's, where people object to not being able to drive to the edge of the water, but
Yeah.
They seem to get over that one, so. So that's where that stands.
Well, thank you. That was interesting and progress.
Real progress, I think. All right, so is that it for that, Brian?
Yep.
Okay, I guess I'm on again for the interpretive sign for We to Move Sawmill, which has been on our agenda probably for a year now. But Ginger and I were having a conversation. Ginger Lacey and I were having a conversation. Well, right after we lost Marjorie, talking about ideas for some kind of a memorial for her, and she suggested, I had actually thought of this. I hadn't mentioned it to anybody yet. She says, "What about that sign down at?" Well, I was talking to her about Marjorie's leadership years ago when she was with the Garden Club, and this is in the era, the early era of Weedamoo Woods, when the Garden Club was very instrumental in the founding, the preservation of Weedamoo, and also the early Open Space Commission leadership. And the Garden Club came up with funds to rebuild the arch bridge down there, and Marjorie was basically I don't know if there was a chair or she just was the leader of that effort. And at that time, I was on the planning board and was kind of their expert on wetlands permitting and wetlands issues and so on. And so she came to me and I helped her some with the wetlands application for that project and so on. But it was a tremendously successful project. They found a stonemason way up in Foster somewhere that had done work like that, and he got the contract to do it. And anyway, that arch bridge was in pretty shabby shape, trees growing out of it and everything, and it was totally restored. So it was quite an achievement. So where I'm going with this is one way to remember her is in that sign, dedicate it to the memory of Marjorie Larson, who was instrumental in getting the restoration done. So, I mean, that's a small little thing, but anyway, that's a thought we had, and I think that would be good. Doesn't necessarily have to be the only memorial to her, but I would like to proceed with that thought. Another thing on that bridge, the sign for the sign is we had a gentleman from the Up and Down Sawmill in Ledyard, Connecticut. I got in touch with him because I was trying to find more information about it. I've been down there a couple of times. John Paul went with me once, and that operation, theirs is fully operational. It fits like a glove. That type of sawmill would be perfect for the structure that's what we have left in our foundations, both the turbine box, where the water comes in, where the water goes out of the turbine box. I mean, it's really, there's no doubt in my mind that that's the type of mill that existed there. Now, all the other superstructure around it, is still undefined. But anyway, in conversations with a gentleman down there that has been instrumental in their restoration and research, he wanted to come up and look at ours. So we had lunch one day several months ago, and he came out and we walked through and everything. One of the conclusions that we reached that day was that this was way more than just a village sawmill. All of the granite work that's there and the whole structure leads me to believe that it had to be there's the touch of Fall River and the mills up there, maybe needing big timbers for the construction of their mills and so on. And I just think it's something more with the building of that dam and the bridge and the whole operation. It was a pretty big, pretty substantial undertaking for the early to mid 1800s. So anyway, I've contacted our surveyor.
Don Medeiros.
Yeah, Don Medeiros, and he had also had those thoughts, and he is going to research the deed. The title search back to the 1850s, and that should tell us a lot about if that is a possibility or not. Anyway, I would like to proceed on that basis of finding out what I can about the history of the thing and work on some kind of sign design and work with Don on that and proceed with the thought of doing that and then having something on the bottom that the sign is dedicated to the memory of Marjorie Larson. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, no question in my mind that acknowledging her contribution, and I think that would be appropriate.
Agreed.
Along this line, do we have anything in memory of Art Whitaker? Because he certainly gave an awful lot of energy in the historical aspect of the area.
Yeah, he certainly did. We had in fact, one of the early things the commission did when I came on board. Actually, it was right when Ginger came aboard as one of the first things we did after she joined the commission was we had a pretty nice celebration of Marjorie service and art service, but there's nothing that I'm aware of a permanent nature that recognizes his. He certainly Yeah, I mean, the research he did on the cellar holes, the quartz quarry, and, you know, all the other things that he found.
The
that-
history and prehistory of that area. He really
Exactly.
knew
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And he was great to take groups of kids for years and,
Oh, yeah,
you know, lead them through Weedamoo and explain various features, you know, second graders, young kids. And I
Back in the
attended,
days when we did that.
yeah, I mean, he was involved in that. Showed off his Indian arrowheads.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of going into his upstairs arrowhead room, and it was absolutely mind-boggling because the collection he had was just unbelievable. He really had a knack for finding.
I was walking with him one day up 8 Rod Way, and he spotted an arrowhead right in the middle of 8 Rod Way. I swear he saw it, you know, 6 yards away. He was just walking along, and he spotted it. So he definitely had an eye for him.
Sure did.
So, well, Jim, I mean, there's nothing, he had nothing to do with this project. So I don't
Understand.
and some kind of recognition would certainly be appropriate. I'm not sure what it would be, but anyway.
Just keep it in mind so that if we have an option to do that, it would be great.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, we
so
should not forget him.
Gary, I'm happy to apply the lessons learned from the signs up at Grinnell's Beach.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
That ended up being like an 18-month project. I said, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it.
there's no hurry, and I'm not trying to run off and be a lone ranger on this. So I'll be working with you on that, and anyone else.
Well, and based on that, it's all about images. So,
yeah,
you know, it's
there's a certain amount of verbiage that has to
2 or 3 sentences and lots of images. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. That's I'll keep plugging away, and I'll see if I can. Don, I've spoken with him probably 6 weeks ago, but I'll give him another call and keep that moving. I think that's a key bit of information. I did contact the Fall River Historical Society. They have a tremendous archive up there, and I was hoping maybe they might have something, and ask them about the Borden. You know, it's the Borden Brook, and there was a mill there on Borden Brook, and some thought that might be connected with Fall River, you know, ownership and so on, and ask if they had anything on file about that. And they actually got back to me and apparently searched their files and said they had nothing on it. So, I mean, that didn't prove that there was no connection, but there's nothing.
Well, we have that info that Jim had forwarded that was from a family member, but I'm not sure it was accurate.
Yeah, it was. I was never able to track any further information about what I gave out.
They were maintaining that, I forget who, but one generation was buried
Somewhere
nearby.
around there.
But I'm just not entirely convinced that was accurate.
Well, when you look at that, when you look at the what's there, the dam, it's made from, a lot of it is from quarried granite.
Yeah.
The bridge, I'm sure the slab bridge on 8 Rod Way was done at the same time for that operation. So it was a major undertaking, and it's always just, I've been blown away by the fact that there's nothing local that I've ever read that says anything about that mill.
Yep.
So that also makes me think, hey, it was an outside group come in, they did it somehow, and it just never, it wasn't a local operation. But we'll see what see what the land evidence record shows for ownership during that.
Yeah,
period.
up in, was it Taunton? Or have they moved?
No, we
The
should
file.
have it in
No.
Tiverton.
We should
No,
have it too.
That's not, that's 1850s. We were,
Okay, so that's after.
We go back that far.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we do that all the time at
Right,
cemetery.
okay, I'm good with that.
Gary, is there any possibility that someone at the Wilbur House Historical Society, that museum, would have any kind of information? I
Right.
mean, Marjorie O'Toole is a very accomplished researcher, and she's done a lot of work on
Uh-oh.
women of the
Froze.
area, and not just exclusively from Little Compton.
You're freezing up, Gail.
Buffering.
I hear you, Gail, and I think that's a good thought. She's certainly an historian of high quality, so it wouldn't hurt to check in with her. I actually got another question for her that unrelated to this, but yeah, we'll do that. Okay.
Parking?
Yeah.
Gail, you might want to restart your thing if you can still hear us. Because your video is frozen.
Okay. Hopefully she can hear us. So,
Once she gets restarted.
Yeah, I don't even see her.
No, she cut it off, so she'll reboot the app.
well, in the meantime,
Here she is.
Much better.
hey,
No,
You back?
I'm back. I don't know what happened. Well, partially, I can hear. So that counts.
that's good.
I
Oh,
don't know
good.
where
There you
I
are.
went, but
Okay.
so you're
Anyway,
gonna check with Marjorie. That's good.
yeah, right. Okay, moving on to the parking thing. That's been kind of a zoo, that project. The project is to construct the modifications to 8 Rod Way, which is the parking area, to accommodate Marcus's house home construction there. And all the approvals got done again for the second time, and we were set to go. Josh had a start date, and his worker came down with COVID. So he felt like he really shouldn't get started. I mean, he could have done it by himself. It had taken him a little longer, but he was a little antsy about working down there himself with all the public going in and out before he got his test. So that delayed it. He got his test and it came back negative. And so we were going to go ahead and proceed anyway, but then the weather came. The weather that of the week he was going to initially do it was perfect. And ever since,
Yeah.
we had another start date, and in the field, the parking area is not that bad, but over in the field, it's really wet. So that's delayed everything. And now it's kind of just waiting until there's a stretch of dry weather when it can be done. Now, that's just an update on that. But it's come to attention as we think about that modification. What's going to happen is not much is going to happen to the parking lot itself, but 8 Rod Way going north out of the parking area is going to be widened up to town specifications, up to, if you remember, kind of halfway up in front of the lot to allow emergency vehicles. Basically, a fire truck is the ultimate emergency vehicle that they have to get in there to allow him room to turn into the driveway, go in, and then back out and come out. So what that means is the early part, the first, I don't know, 60 feet or so of 8 Rod Way now, which is a laneway, is going to be widened. So there's an issue now of the temptation, and it's going to look like the parking lot. The temptation of people going up in there and parking. So we're going to have to come up with probably a larger sign, maybe some stones even, but we got to be careful with stones because that would restrict the function of the thing if a fire truck had to get in there. Anyway, so we've got to think that through and possibly construct a larger sign there that says no parking beyond this point. But that's all, no big issue there. I do have one issue though. So the last time Jean Paul and I were down there, Josh had agreed to do some patchwork on the parking lot itself while he was there. Gravel, there's some muddy areas. One is on the right-hand side as you drive in, kind of in front of the sign, in a big muddy area that people have opened up. And then there's another one on end of the parking area on the left-hand side that needs some gravel fill and compression and so on. So Josh and I were sitting there talking about, wonder if we ought to put some stones there to keep people from pulling over in front of the sign and parking. And he said, well, what I really think we should do is not put stones in and instead of blocking people from parking there, gravel that area so we get 3 or 4 more parking places because of the load we've got on the parking area now. Now, what that means is people could park in front of the sign, but they're doing that anyway now. Pardon me?
They do that anyway when it's full up.
Yeah. Well, that's what the idea of putting the stones there. So that would block that and prevent that. But I think John Paul has a darn good point. I mean, we're really crying for parking places. And, as the crowds are not there, I would think they wouldn't park in front of that as a first choice. And if, what harm does it really do? Nobody's going to drive by it and not find Weedemy Woods because they can't see the sign because there's cars in front of it. Because it's loaded, they know that's where it is. So I think that idea has merit. So I was wondering what you all think about
the only question I have, Gary, is how, and I haven't gone in there to look specifically for this, but I know we tried to encourage through signage or whatever people to park just across the street.
Yes.
And nobody ever seems to do that. They'll drive up the side of the tree before they'll park on the other side of the road.
Well, one thing about it is that sign is you see it after you already parked. It's on the sign. It's on the sign, do not park beyond this sign. And it also says additional parking available
right
across the street. Now we could make that, I hate to, well, anyway, that is an issue. And as more and more, I think it's the people that come there the first time that don't realize it. They actually are the guys that have been there, and know that it's there. They use that if the lot is full. So,
and I would hope people going in there wouldn't worry about the extra 50 feet of walking.
Some people will.
Yeah, I hear you. So that'd be another thought is to, maybe have some kind of sign in front. But again, I'm not sure you see it until you park and walk in. But anyway,
you start to pull in and you realize it's full.
Yeah.
It almost has to be on the opposite side of the road as people approach, that they can see a sign that there's additional parking, but then you're trying to get permission from somebody else to
we can't
sign up,
even,
and we don't love signs anyway. So
that's a state road. We couldn't.
That's right. We'd be 10 years getting that permission. So.
But I think it is being used by local people who know what's back there. And so anyway.
Sean, do you have any thoughts about this? You've been in border patrol and police work, and maybe you have some insights that you would share.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could definitely just gravel it. Like Gary said, I think that would probably work just fine. I mean, if you're worried about people seeing the sign, could the sign be raised up a couple feet? Like over the cars? Maybe that would help.
Yeah, and if it was out at the front,
I
But
like
other than
that.
that, maybe a better sign, overflow parking across the street. Maybe that might do it instead of additional parking, overflow parking. So you know, once the lot is full, maybe that would get people over there.
yeah.
I don't know.
Somebody's dishwasher's on.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that too. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Okay,
I don't think it's my house.
The what?
Same with the, does anyone have serious objections about losing that little bit of grass there? It'd be less to mow, and
No.
it really is not a big aesthetic, thing. So,
I think more parking is a good move.
yeah. Okay.
And as long as no one runs into the sign, there's enough clearance for them not to bang the sign or knock it over. I think we should make accommodations for more cars to park
Okay,
if we can.
I'll proceed with that thought, and before we execute it, I'll see what Josh is thinking about that would add to our expenses. But good, I think that'd be worth it. I thought it was a good idea.
There's no right-of-way issue, right? We're not going to get close enough to the state highways right away with our gravel, or there's no safety issue related to this. I can't visualize.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, they're parking out on a road anyway. So.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I meant, that we might potentially be liable for, is what I was thinking, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
I trust your judgment.
hey, that's something Jenny doesn't even do.
Well, I'm in a better position than
Yeah.
Ginny is to trust your judgment.
All right, well, we'll proceed with that thought, and before we commit any money, we'll of course inform everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Moving right on to stewardship, if I may. You all saw John Paul's report. Just unbelievable what that guy's doing. And I was looking at, I don't know if any of you have walked in, he's cleared out that first little brook that runs under 8 Rod Way just past Elaine Lee's sign. Cleaned all that out. And that brook actually runs going upstream from it. It runs under the roadway that goes out into the meadow.
Right.
There's a slab bridge down there. And that brook runs under that. There's another stonework where it comes under the stone wall that's on the south side of the driveway into the meadow. And that's another little piece of stonework that he's cut back on, and you can see it now. It's really a cool little thing. And then the brook runs all the way around, and then it runs under the Orange Trail over there. So, and then it actually runs up on the east boundary of Marcus's lot. So that drains a large area back in there, and has the handiwork of an 1800s farm and so on. I think there's a good chance that there was actually a farmhouse out in the when you go into the meadow there, you go up on that knoll, and there's a short little stone wall there. There was, when we first started to clean up that area, there was the remains of a structure there. I couldn't tell whether it was a barn or what. I just assumed it was some kind of a hay barn or something. But on the old maps that show the dwellings, there's an indication of something there. It doesn't have a name attached to it, but something was there. So Anyway, that's all that stuff that John has cleared off and made visible is really cool. And then the whole area around the Borden Brook that's now open, and where you can see the water and the both sides of the slab bridge and looking upstream there. It's really, really nice. And so he's just performing miracles for us as we go. He's out there all the time working on something. So we be careful, Sean. If you hook up with him, he'll put you to work.
Oh, that wouldn't bother me.
Yeah. Good. He's really great. He's really a leader in our stewardship effort. So that's pretty much his report. Hello.
Yep.
I think
Right.
Brian, you're on mute, Brian.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. I said I have something else under there, one of Gary's favorite topics. The land trust received a letter from someone who was pointing out that her partner or boyfriend or whatever, husband, could not go into the woods without her because he was colorblind. And with all the trails being color coded, he couldn't tell the difference. And could we consider doing something to help with that? And in the same, and I'm bringing it up because in the same letter, she said, and there's this whole new area being opened that she was kind of lumping in with it. So just in case you're talking with anybody, what she was referring to is the new DEM area on Lake Road, the old Mandros property, which was added to the area DEM already had. So that's their issue. But I thought it was something I'd certainly never thought about. And my suggestion going forward was that maybe we could just incorporate a capital letter into the color blazes. So if the yellow trail, rather than just being a yellow diamond, was a yellow Y or something like that.
Makes sense. My dad was profoundly red-green colorblind, and he could only do traffic lights because he knew where the light was, not what the color was.
Huh. Yeah, it had never occurred to me.
The one thing about that is that would be a special sign that would have to be created, and literally hundreds of them. These arrow signs are real common and really cheap. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it because it's going to cost more, but I can imagine it's going to be hundreds of dollars more to do all those for all of our areas.
Well, do you have contact info for where you get them now?
Yeah.
Well, send that to me. I'll look into it.
Okay. Sure.
And surely we're not the first to ever run across a colorblind
Yeah.
question.
Yep. I agree. Okay, that's all I had under stewardship.
All right. Guess we're ready for, how do we handle executive session? I got a call a couple days ago from Jay Edwards on the town council, one of the newly sworn in members. He has been appointed the open space liaison. So he asked me, what do you want me to do? What can I do for you? We actually had quite the conversation, and this guy is really, really well informed about the advantages and the economics of open space, preserving open space. And I can't say enough about how much I was impressed by his understanding. Now he's been on the budget committee for years and years, and as you know, got elected to the council this time. So I think we've got a real advocate there that will help us when we need help on the council. So as we move forward on, and when it comes time to potentially go to the council, I think meeting with him privately and briefing him would probably be advantageous. And I'm very confident that he's going to be a strong supporter of our efforts. So
I should get his email so I can send him minutes. That'd be, I mean, he'll get them anyway, but that way you have them as soon as we file them.
Yeah, it's probably available on
on the town website. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, that's good news, I think.
Really good news.
I watched him, figure through the difficulties they were having with the main library with some of the maintenance issues, and he clearly had done his homework and understood the considerations and the costs, and he expressed that at the budget meeting in a way that everyone knew that it wasn't just something that some board was making up. He said, I want to clarify this. This is why these costs are out here, and this is how it came to be. And he had done the homework and done the research. So I think you're exactly right, Gary. He gets to understand what it is, and he can be a strong advocate. And I think he did make a difference in terms of how the rest of the members viewed the budget that was being presented by the library then.
I was really, really impressed with what he had to say. And I mean, he wasn't trying to impress me. We just got into a conversation, about open space. And he's lived here a long time, so he knows the history of Weedamoo and all the rest of it.
He's a trained engineer, isn't he?
He actually told me that when who was it, Driggs, that put up on the financial town referendum to lower our
Cook. Donna Cook.
Cook or Driggs.
Yeah.
Anyway, he saw that he was gonna put an alternative on there to raise it. He thought, well, not the time to do that at that time. So anyway,
I think it would be good to have that conversation with him just about restoring what was there.
he seemed like he'd be available anytime to talk, and I think he would support it. So
I think we have to wait until the budgets right themselves a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are still pretty.
It'll be a year or two.
This is not the time to ask for more money, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sean, just as background, we have a fund for land acquisition that we've pretty much always used as matching funds for grants so that we can kind of double it or triple it.
Okay.
And that was created in 2001, I think. Which a long story I won't go into, but it was created as a little piece of the conveyance tax that happens when real estate transfers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the town set aside 60% of that to go into this fund. And a couple of years ago, what we were just talking about, when Councillor Cook put a referendum out that I think was deceptive, because it just said, let's set aside 20% for open space acquisition. It didn't say that it was currently 60 and you were reducing it to 20. And so that passed. And so the amount going into that fund has dropped significantly. We still have a decent chunk of money right now, but if something big comes up like Hicks, we're gonna need a lot more.
Okay, I understand.
Did we ever determine that that was something that had to be voted on annually? Or did we just let that go?
That was one attorney.
This point of view, yes. Okay, I was remembering that was,
Nobody
legal
has ever
opinion.
asked again for it to be.
And we're still getting it.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. Don't rock the boat, right?
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's definitely on our side and very knowledgeably on our side. So we got a real catch with Jay.
Very good.
So anybody opposed to
move to adjourn.
second? Done.
Yep.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes.
Tipping the eggnog glass in virtually.
Yes. In